And let's say we're talking about your inventory, okay? You buy inventory to resell to people. It's what we do, right? That's how a lot of businesses make money. So if they're going to lend you money, they often want to know what the value of your inventory is, because they may be using it as collateral, and they're going to discount what they're going to give you if you have a lot of really old inventory, or that the bank's going to believe that it's worth what you know it's worth. Now, so you need a loan and you've gone to the bank and they've asked you these questions about aging. What does it mean? What is aging all about? I'm going to give you the picture-perfect answer to that question. When they ask about aging, they're usually talking about two things: your inventory if you sell stuff, and your accounts receivable either way. They want to know, how is it aging? Let me show you what that means really quickly with a quick diagram, okay? Let's make this a timeline going straight across here, and this is today, T for today, and Y for way back a lot of years ago. So call it a year ago. And in between here we have a bunch of days, right? A lot more than I'm drawing, but let's just pretend it's this many. And let's say we're talking about your inventory, okay? You buy inventory to resell to people. It's what we do, right? That's how a lot of businesses make money. And let's say that you bought 8 things here and 6 things here and 2 things here and 9 things here and 20 here, so on and so forth, blah, 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 blah. And then up here closer to today, you've bought 6, 10, 12, and 1. So this is what you've bought, okay? And let's say you've sold 3 of these and 2 of these and 0, 0, 0, but you've sold all 6 of these and 5 of these and all 12 of these. The reason the bank's concerned is because you paid for this stuff a long time ago, way back here, and it still hasn't sold. So what they're thinking is you're sitting with stale, what we call stale inventory. It's not going to be any good. If it's food product, it could have expired. If it's technology, it could be obsolete by now. So if they're going to lend you money, they often want to know what the value of your inventory is, because they may be using it as collateral, and they're going to discount what they're going to give you if you have a lot of really old inventory. So what they're going to ask you to do is tell them, let me look at your inventory, tell me how much is new within the last 30 days, how much has been there 60 days, how much is 90, how much is 120, and how much is older than that. And what they're going to do is lend you less and less as you move down the line. So, for example, they might lend you 80% of the value of this inventory, and they'll lend you 60% of the value of this inventory. So if you have 100 things that are 30, say it's worth 100,000, the stuff you have that's 30 days old. The stuff you have that's 60 days old is worth 200,000. The stuff you have that's 90 days old is worth another 100. And over 120, you have like $500,000 worth of stuff, or dollars, thousands of dollars. Take your pick. They're going to lend you less and less of a percent of the value of that inventory based on what they call its aging buckets, right? So the 30-day-old stuff, they'll give you 80% of this, so they'll give you $80. Your 60-day-old stuff, they might only give you 20 or 60% of it. So they'll only give you $120 of your $200. The 100-day-old stuff, they're only going to give you 20% of, or $20, and the old stuff, they're not going to give you anything. So even though when you add up the total value of your inventory, you're like, hey, I've got $600, $800, I've got $900,000 worth of inventory. I think I can borrow, $700,000 on that. That's not the case. You're truthfully only going to be able to borrow the sum of all these, which is 220, which is wildly different than what you might have been expecting to be able to borrow. So what's the lesson here? The lesson here is pay attention to how old your inventory is, because you want to make sure that the bank's going to believe that it's worth what you know it's worth. Now, the flip side of that, the other thing, but it operates exactly the same way, is your accounts receivable balance. And what is accounts receivable? Very simply, accounts receivable is what your customers owe you, okay? So ignore this for now. That was pretty much just for inventory. But it works the same way for accounts receivable. You may say, hey, my customers owe me $900,000. So lend me some of that until they pay me, right? It's a very common way for businesses to get money. But they're going to say, hey, look, if your customers haven't paid you this $500,000 in 120 days, I don't believe you're ever going to collect it. So I'm not counting that for anything. I'm pretty sure you're not going to collect much of that 100. You might only collect 20, so I'm only going to count you for 20 there. This stuff's getting a little hairy. You need to start collecting this. And this, I'm pretty sure I'll lend you everything on. But you get the same story. They're only going to lend you $220 because they don't believe you're going to collect this stuff really at all. And they think you're having a hard time collecting this stuff. So what's the business lesson there? The business lesson there is pay attention to what your customers owe you and go after them in collections. A lot of times when I come into clients, the first thing I look at is their aged accounts receivable and their aged inventory. Number one, there could be a lot of cash hiding in there, right? Could just be this guy's been ignoring you for a while and totally forgot he owed you money. Well, let's go get that cash before we go borrow money, right? So that's one big thing. But the second thing is we really want to know how the outside world, not just your bankers, but if you're going to sell your business, how's the potential buyer? How are those people going to value what you have in inventory and what you're going to collect from your customers? There, your quick lesson in aging. Hope you got a lot out of this. If you did, hit subscribe. We do a lot of lessons around how to be a finance-savvy entrepreneur without having to learn bookkeeping. Take care. I hope that video was helpful, and I hope you subscribe to my channel for more information on finances in your business.